Getcha moving Monday!
I'm Ryan Kuhlman of the Broward and the MiamiDade Real Estate Investors Associations, also known as the BREIA MC, coming to you from the BREIA and MiamiDadeREIA headquarters.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Get You Moving Monday. Now, as you can see, we are already mobile today. Today is a very busy Monday. We have two properties that we are trying to market and sell, and we're having some issues finding a buyer. So that's what today's episode is going to be all about, is how to plan and strategize when you're having issues finding a buyer for your property. So the two properties that we're marketing right now, one is our Hollywood rehab project with two of our students. We've been marketing that property for about 3 or 4 weeks now. Now, we put a pretty high price on there. We were gonna pretty much be setting a new standard in that neighborhood, which we do a lot of times with our rehab projects because, you know, Carl Sheely from Pierre's Remodeling and Construction, his crew, these guys do such a great job. This house came out beautiful. And we've been able to set records of price per square foot in the last year or two on our rehab projects. But this property, you know, because it's a rehab property, no, we're not in a contingency period, but time is money. Time is of essence, so we do want to get the property sold. So we are working on our strategy of finding a buyer, possibly lowering the price, and I'll talk a little bit about that because we're about to be at the property in a few minutes. Now, our other property is a wholesale property, and that property we are on the clock. Remember, on your wholesale properties, you're going to be fighting the clock because you're going to be in your contingency period. That's the period of time that you have to get your deposit back if you decide not to go through with the purchase, because if you don't find a buyer for the property, why would you buy the property? So we're going to talk about the retail property first. If you've got a rehab project that is having issues finding a buyer, some things that you can do to increase your opportunities for finding the right buyer for your rehab project. So let's talk about that in just a minute. So we are here at Hollywood. This is the property. This is the beautiful property, 4210 Lincoln Street, that we've been marketing for about the past month. We had the price at $449,700. Now you can see the sign behind me. Tim is actually our student on the deal, and he's been running all of the open houses, and we're working really hard on trying to get this property sold, trying to get as many buyers and agents through the property as possible, because you got to get that exposure to the property. Now, the issue is that people love the property. We haven't really gotten any negative feedback. So as a team, you know, we're asking ourselves, well, why isn't it selling? Why are we not getting offers on the property? So come on inside, let's talk in the air conditioning because it's just way too hot out here. So like I said before, you know, we wanted to set a record, as we usually do on our rehab projects, especially when you put all this kind of work into a property like this, especially with a beautiful kitchen like this. You should be able to get that top dollar. Now, one of those things that we obviously, you know, talk about as a team is a reduction of price, but you have to be very careful about reducing the price of your listing, because once agents start seeing, you know, price drops, especially if you're doing multiple price drops, then that to them, you know, brings the sharks out. They can smell the blood in the water, and they're going to be looking at getting a major price reduction on your property and thinking, wow, the seller's really desperate. So you don't want to give that desperate feel, even though we are getting desperate to sell the property and get our money back so we can start you know, a couple other projects. So a couple things that we've done on a retail property, this is what you guys can do as well to try to get your property sold. Now, first of all, sometimes when you put the property out, we put this property at $449,700. What we could do is we could lower the price to just $449,000 and leave the $700 out. Now, why would we do that? Number one, that's not really a price drop. We could always talk about how that was like a clerical error or something because it was a $700 difference. So the psychology is not that we're making drastic price reductions, and you know, and what it does is that also puts the property back on the radar of the agents in the area that are doing searches or have automatic searches for this area when they're looking for properties for their clients. So if we lower just by $700 in order to pop that back up on the radar, that is one option that we have. Now, we actually made the decision on this property, instead of making a very small price reduction in that regard, we decided to first throw another open house. So the second weekend after, we had our second open house. Sometimes that first open house people don't get the opportunity, and especially if the buzz, starts getting around that, hey, there's this great property in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard, 4210 for $449,000. It could be your house as well. But what we see is that it gives an opportunity for people that miss the first open house to come back to the second open house. And there's obvious things that we really want them to see, the key factors of the property, which is the pool or the kitchen and the pool area as well, which this pool area is a great attraction for this property. So we set a second open house the next weekend after that. We've had up to 3 or 4 open houses on properties, and sometimes you want to switch them. We did our open houses on a Saturday and Sunday, and then thinking about having an open house like on a Wednesday afternoon. Maybe the agents and people that aren't available on Saturdays and Sundays, which most agents should be available, but again, you're trying to bring as much foot traffic into the property as well. The second thing that we've done is we've had Tim, our student, contact all of the agents that showed this property, that set up showings, and even some of them said, yeah, my clients are thinking of making an offer. When we didn't receive offers from them, you want to get feedback. You want to find out, not only get feedback for the property here, but it's always good to get feedback and to increase our knowledge for future deals. And the feedback that we got on this property was that they were looking at some other properties. The area might not have worked for them, even though this is a great area and a great neighborhood. The one feedback that we did get is that the windows, we didn't update all of the windows. We were having storm shutters put on. And the first open house that we had, we didn't have the tracks up because there was so much rain that our contractor wasn't able to put those up. Now that they're up, that might make it a little bit, of a different situation for people when they see the property. So one thing that we also did in regards to this is, instead of making a small decrease in the price reduction, we made actually a larger price decrease. We actually brought it down $10,000. And the reason why we did that is, like I said, on this property specifically, we set even a little bit higher than we do normally on our rehab projects. If our aftermarket repair value is, say, $300,000, then we might set it at $309,000, on average. Well, in this house, it was more like us setting it at $319,000. We were like $20,000 over what we would even try to set that max ceiling at. So that's one of the reasons why we went ahead and decreased it $10,000 instead of doing a small decrease. It's because we've already had 2 open houses and we've already had 3 or 4 weeks gone by. We just don't really have the time. So you can do a small price decrease the first week that you have the property up. Throw an extra, like if whatever your price is, if it was $399,000, put a $200 in there, or a $100 or a $700, and then just reduce it to that, to the $399, that even number, so that will pop up on people's radar. But if you have an opportunity, or if you need to do a more of a price reduction, then a $10,000 price reduction is what we did on this property, and that instantly had opened up the doors. Maybe some people, their ceiling, their max was $439,000. So by reducing it from $449,000 to $439,000, we were able to then open it up to that other group of people that might have had that ceiling right around the $420,000 to $430,000 range. So that's one thing that we've done to increase for having more people come through the property to try to get this retail property sold. Now, one of the other things that we've started to do on this property is reach out via social media. So we've put it out on our social media, and the entire team, if you have a team of people, including your contractor, have them put it out on their Facebook as well, because that way it'll get out there to more people. We've actually boosted it a little bit. We put a little bit of money behind it, just in case that we're not necessarily marketing just to real estate agents. Remember, the MLS is for the agents, and they're the ones that are going to see the property on there. But if we set it out on social media and we geo-target the area here in Hollywood, then we can get some homeowner that's up on Facebook that looks at the pictures, and then they call their agent, or better yet, they call us directly without their agent. If they're not using an agent right now, then we don't have to pay their agent's commission. If they are using an agent, then they would contact their agent to say, hey, we just saw this property on Facebook's being sold in Hollywood. So that's another way that you can try to increase the foot traffic into your property. If you're having problems finding a buyer, you gotta increase the area. You gotta throw out a bigger net. Just like a fisherman, if you've got a small net and you're only using the MLS, you're only gonna get the fish caught from that pool. But if you really open up, your marketing and you're looking at social media and signage, we've also, had flyers that we've printed up. We always, mention these at our networking meetings. So if you have a property, you could go to a networking meeting and try to get it out to some other agents. I mean, sometimes people just miss stuff that's on the MLS. So that's another way, especially and specifically using social media, specifically Facebook, to geo-target and try to get the marketing and advertising to hit homeowners and not just your real estate agents. So we talked about doing a small price reduction on your retail property first, just to put it back on people's radar. Then after a couple open houses that you have, and also making sure that you're utilizing the new matrix system on the MLS, because it has an option that you can let agents know when the open house is. After that second open house, we've done a little bit bigger a price reduction of $10,000, which opened up to a lot more homeowners. Then we use geo-targeting on our Facebook pages to get it out on our social media to see if we can attract some more home buyers whose agents might not be aware of this property on the MLS. So those are the ways that you can work, to try to get your retail property sold. Now, we got to get this wholesale property sold as well that we're having troubles finding a buyer for. So let's talk about that. Let's take a ride, go see the property, and I'll walk you guys through how we can try to get that wholesale property sold and find the right buyer for that property as well. So this is our lovely wholesale property in Hialeah, and the issues with this property, obviously you can see from the blue tarp, we have some roof issues. We also have, as this used to be a garage, it is now illegally enclosed. So we do have some challenges on this property. We might have it at just a little bit too high of a price because of the amount of work that this property needs. Now I'm not gonna bother taking you guys inside just for time constraints today, but there are some mold issues. We have some leaks in the roof. That roof has been leaking for quite some time. So the inside is pretty bad. And that is not necessarily the reason why we can't sell a property, because remember, the property condition and the price depends upon, what somebody sees the value. Depends upon if it's a rental property, the cap rate that they're looking at, depends upon if they think that there's enough margin in there for them to do a rehab. So it's all relative between the condition and the price that you're marketing the property. Now, we had renters in the property that have vacated the property, and the seller did not want us to put a sign when we first started marketing the property in our contingency period. So we're gonna put a sign up front. There's some good traffic amount on this street, so we will hopefully find some other buyers interested in there. We've also obviously put it out on our buyers list. We are putting it out again on our buyers list this morning, Monday. It's fresh. Maybe some buyers were gone during the weekend. Some buyers just don't look at emails and things on the weekend, especially our Jewish buyers on Saturdays. They're not going to look at any emails. So we want to put that property back out today on Monday. We'll put a sign in the front yard as well, and then we'll do a small price decrease. We'll do a price reduction, and we'll just do that one in a small increment, because remember, this isn't on the MLS. So if any buyer missed the first email, they're not even going to necessarily know that we've done a price reduction. Or we can decide to advertise it and say, hey guys, price reduction, the seller really needs to get rid of this property, and here's an opportunity for you because of this motivated seller. So we're going to look at those few different things. So if you have a wholesale property that you're having problems getting the right buyer for, open up your possibility of selling. You can use social media as well. If we needed to, we could put this up on the WJL website, on our company website, and try to get a few more eyes on it that way. Put it on your social media, put a sign out in front, and then do your price reduction, remarket the property, be sent back out again. At the end of the day, listen, it's the wholesale business. If within our contingency period, if we don't have enough days left and the seller's not willing to give us more days for the extension and the price is just too high, then we'll have another strategy of what you can do to follow up, even though you might have to cancel the contract on the property. So again, the strategy for a wholesale property is similar to a retail property, although since we're not marketing on the MLS, our price drops don't really concern us. I mean, yes, our buyers, if they see the emails coming through and if we advertise, price reduction, yeah, then they're gonna get hip to the fact that, oh, these guys are really getting desperate. Let me go in with some, ridiculous lowball offer. But the reality is that when you send it out, we can do the first round of resend and say, there's a price reduction, but after that, we could still send it out and say, new cap rate. There's a rental property down the street, that rents for this amount, and now you could get the same, similar rent, that kind of thing. Just showing people more value in the property. Now, what I wanted to talk to you guys about now is in regards to on a wholesale property. As far as our rehab properties go, no, we can't really cancel the contract because we've already bought the property. So in a retail situation, when we're trying to market that property for sale, we unfortunately just have to, write it out. You got to do your price reductions, and at some point in time, with you, and if you're partnering with people on the deal, you just have to realize, okay, listen, we're only going to make, X amount, but we got to dump this house, be able to get our money back, and move on to the next one. It's going to start costing you more than the profits you're going to make. So on a wholesale property, though, at the end of the day, that's why we love wholesale so much, is because we're never going to get stuck, with a property or get stuck, with a deposit that we're not going to get back, because we have that contingency period. We have our inspection period. So once you send the property out to your buyers, if you have the signage, if you've been, going to networking meetings and taking a flyer of the property and trying to find people there, contact other wholesalers. Get a list of not just of your buyers, but get a list of wholesalers too, and call a couple wholesalers and say, hey, listen, if you send this out to your list, I'll reduce it a couple thousand and put a couple thousand in your pocket, and see if they can maybe come up with a buyer as well. And then also social media, you can geo-target on Facebook, you can send it out. If you've got a website that you've started and you're getting some Google ranking, you could always try to put the property up on there, but that's gonna take a little bit more time. I think that doing a couple reductions of price, and if you have to at the end of the day, if you end up canceling the contract, you could always follow up with the seller afterwards, because let's say that you say to the seller, listen, I've had my contractor look at the property, and it's going to take just way too much to fix that property up. We did find out that the roof does need to be replaced, whatever the situation is. Or the illegal additions, you saw the illegal garage enclosed and the property we were just at. So you look at it in regards to going back to the seller, trying to renegotiate, trying to get a price reduction. If you don't get a price reduction, then cancel the contract, and then maybe use one of your partners or a partnering wholesaler or somebody that you trust, and have them go approach the homeowner. Let's say that you offered 140. Have them go approach the seller and say, I'll give you 130,000 cash and I'll close in 15 days. Make it a little bit more of a juicy offer, and see if they'll take that. Maybe they realize that 140 was just not the right price. This other person couldn't get it sold, so they have somebody else that showed up at their doorstep. Or if you don't have any team members to do that, you can go back to them and say, listen, just let me give this one more try. Let me put it in contract for 3 days. Just give me 3 days, and I will try to find a buyer for it if we just reduce it to 130, and see if maybe you can even do an assignment of contract or something. You never know. They might not be motivated today, but tomorrow they may. So things come up all the time. So when you go back and you're follow-up and renegotiating on those deals, you might find out that a month from now that seller's willing to take 130 or 125,000 because they just want to cash out and just get out of the property. You never know what's going on with them and what the source of motivation is going to come from. All right, boys and girls, well, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today's episode. Thanks for joining me again on Get You Moving Monday. Remember, this week we're not having the BREIA or MiamiDadeREIA meetings. We will have only one meeting next week, July the 11th, for the obvious reason that this week is going to be the 4th of July. So I want to extend from the BREIA and MiamiDadeREIA family to you and your families and friends. Have a great time, 4th of July. Everybody be safe. And remember, it's not the 4th of July week, it's 4th of July. So on Thursday, get your butt back to it and get back to work. Don't make excuses for yourself. And remember, every day is a new opportunity for your success.